Let's lead and live in a whole new
Hey, friend, and welcome to the latest episode of Less Stress, More Joy with Amy Lineker. It's me, Amy, and I am so glad that you're here because I have something really special for you today. Cheers to Monday, my first book was selected by the Next Big Idea Club as one of their must-reads. And they invited me on their podcast to talk about my big takeaways from the book. And that's what I've got for you today. You're going to get to listen to the podcast with the Next Big Idea Club, where I talk about why, if you dread work on Sunday night, it's not a personal failing. It is a design flaw. So stick around because you are going to hear what I think are the 5 biggest takeaways from Cheers to Monday.
Good morning. I'm Michael Kovnat, and this is the Next Big Idea Daily, your quick dose of the best new nonfiction from some of the smartest authors around. So welcome to Monday. How does it feel? If your work week sometimes starts with that familiar knot in your stomach, like Monday is something you have to survive, you're not alone. But what if the path to better performance and better well-being on Mondays and every other day isn't powering through, but redesigning how you work? Amy Lineker is the founder and CEO of the Center for Joyful Work. She's advised more than 100,000 leaders and teams, including at Fortune 100 companies, and she hosts the Less Stress, More Joy podcast. Her new book is Cheers to Monday, the surprisingly simple method to lead and live with less stress and more joy. And she joins us with some big ideas.
Hi, it's Amy Lineker, and today we are going to talk about stress and joy. If you've ever woken up on a Monday morning already exhausted, or spent Sunday night bracing yourself for the week ahead, the problem isn't you. The problem is work. And more specifically, the problem is how stress has been designed into modern work. It's embedded in today's workplace. It's disguised as drive, it's rewarded as resilience, and it's even praised as passion. But chronic stress is not a strength. It drains leaders, it divides teams, and it damages entire organizations from the inside out. And it's time we talked about it. That's exactly what we do in my book, Cheers to Monday. Here are 5 key insights. First, work isn't working. We have been sold a lie, a big, exhausting, soul-sucking lie that stress is the price of success, and we should either suck it up or step aside. But it's not. For the global workforce, stress is up, engagement is down, and overall well-being is trending in the wrong direction. The cost is an estimated $8.9 trillion hit to the global economy, and it's a huge blow to workplace productivity. And perhaps even more alarming than the financial impact is the fact that we are paying with our health, with our physical health, our mental health, and our emotional health. And when I say we, I mean me too. I burned out in a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad way. And not once, but twice. And I had to figure out why. So I did what any introverted research nerd who would rather read studies about burnout than confront why I kept burning out would do. I led a national workforce study on stress and joy at work, and I conducted more than 150 interviews and focus groups with leaders and teams across industries. Here's what I learned. Stress isn't the price of success. It's the thief that steals it. The data point to a hard truth and a hopeful one. Stress is systematically undermining success, and joy is part of the solution. People are not broken. When I burned out both times, I wasn't broken. The way work is designed is broken. The pace is relentless. Expectations are unclear or constantly shifting. Workloads have expanded while resources haven't. and the emotional labor that's required to stay positive has grown, even as our support systems have shrunk. When work stops working, we don't just feel tired, we feel exhausted. And yet, many well intentioned leaders and organizations still treat stress as a personal resilience issue rather than a work design issue. We're told to manage our time better or to take another wellness workshop. And while those tools might help, they don't get at the real problem when the system itself is producing stress faster than people can recover. And that's why work isn't working. Insight number 2, we all have stress stories, including organizations. If we want to change our relationship with stress, we have to tell the truth about how it began. Not just a quick glance, but a real, honest look at the role stress plays in our work and in our lives, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We all carry stress stories, the beliefs that we hold about what stress means, why it shows up, and how we're supposed to respond to it. Some of these stories are inherited from our families, our cultures, our workplaces, and others we've written ourselves. The problem is that many of these stress stories are outdated, they're incomplete, and they might even be harmful. If we don't take the time to examine our stress stories, they run in the background, shaping our choices outside of our awareness. Stress is like your car's GPS. It scans for danger, it warns you when something's wrong, and ultimately, it's trying to keep you safe. And at first, stress might feel like a helpful co-pilot, but sometimes it's more like your ex on a road trip. It gives you confidently wrong directions. Some unhelpful stress stories sound like stress is just a sign of weakness, or everyone else handles stress better than I do, or if I just push through this deadline or this project, then stress will go away. More helpful stress stories, those might sound like stress is a signal and I can choose how to respond, or I don't have to carry this stress alone. And even in stress, I can care for myself and ask for support. Just like we have stress stories as individuals, organizations have them too. They are cultural narratives that shape what's normalized at work, what's praised at work, and what do people feel safe enough to even say out loud. Many of these organizational stress stories keep people silent. They keep them overextended and stuck believing that stress is just the cost of doing business. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration did a really interesting exercise that they called busting myths that keep workers silent about workplace stress, where they showed what a myth was about stress and what the fact was in their workplace. One example was that a myth is that stress or mental health struggles are a sign of weakness, where the fact in their workplace was that speaking openly about stress is a sign of strength. And just one more example, they showed that a myth was this isn't the time to make waves around here. And the fact was silence can jeopardize health and safety. We want to hear what you have to share about stress. What the Occupational Safety and Health Administration was doing is that they were testing those stress stories. They were saying these no longer work here. And it's what we need to do if we want to change stress at work. We've got to name the stories that are driving it individually and collectively. Insight number 3, start with the stress ruler. When you're not sure where to start with stress, I always recommend start with the stress ruler. When I work with leaders, teams, and entire organizations, it's a simple Likert scale that I modeled after one used by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, because I think it gets right what the majority of stress scales get wrong. The stress ruler asks, on a scale of 0 to 10, how challenging has your stress been? There are three reasons why this works. The first one is that it doesn't define challenging. Challenging means wildly different things to different people. It recognizes that two people can be going through the same situation at work and experience it in really different ways. Here's an example. Let's say that you and I are on the same team and there is a major organizational shakeup that's happening. You are calm, collaborative, and crushing your goals. There is a rumor that an exciting promotion is in your future. Meanwhile, I am frazzled, forgetful, and falling behind. And there's a rumor that I've got an awkward conversation with HR in my future. Same stressor, very different experience of what we see as challenging. The second reason why the stress ruler works is that it doesn't have a timestamp. It doesn't set a timeline. It doesn't ask you how challenging has your stress been in the last day or the last week or the last month, because stress doesn't work that way. As a certified mediator, I have facilitated workplace conversations about stressful events that happened months or even years ago. When we force stress into a timeline, we risk overlooking what still needs attention. And the third and final reason why I believe the stress ruler works so well is that it doesn't differentiate between work stress and life stress. It treats you like a whole human being because that's what you are. How you're doing at home affects how you're doing at work, and how you're doing at work affects how you're doing at home. By asking how challenging has your stress been, it respects that overlap. The stress ruler is simple, and the more you use it, the more you normalize conversations about stress. If you're in a room together, it can be as simple as holding up 1 to 10 fingers or writing your answer on a sticky note and then showing them all at once. If you're working virtually, you can use a quick poll. The key is that it gives you a pulse check that keeps up with reality. Many organizations that I work with conduct annual or even at best quarterly employee surveys that question people about their stress and well-being. And while those are well-intentioned, by the time the results land in front of a leader, the moment that needed attention has already passed. The stress ruler is timely, and it works because it takes the implicit and makes it explicit. Insight number 4. There isn't one type of work stress. There are 5. The vast majority of leaders and teams I work with make the mistake of believing that there's only one type of work stress. But in fact, there are 5. If we don't understand that, or if we treat all work stress the same, the likelihood of addressing the root cause of stress is low. Instead, we end up just treating symptoms and then wondering why things aren't getting any better. The 5 types of work stress, and we'll go through these really quickly. Type number 1 is schedule stress. It's the stress from having too much to do and not enough time. The second type is suspense stress. This is the stress from waiting for something that's uncertain. There's a deadline or a decision or a tough conversation that isn't here yet, but the anticipation is already wearing on you. Type 3 is social stress. This is the stress from relationships, when our relationships at work make it harder to do our job than easier. The fourth type is sudden stress, and it's the stress that arrives unannounced and it demands a response. It can be an urgent request or a last-minute change that throws your day off course. And the fifth type is system stress. This is the stress from structures and processes and culture, things like power imbalances and inequity that make it really difficult to be successful. When we understand these 5 distinct kinds of work stress, we can start to apply solutions to those stressors that are actually going to make a difference. In my research, I found that schedule stress is the most common, yet sudden stress was shown to have the biggest negative impact. So those are two data points that you can use right away. You can look out for, do we have schedule stress here on our team? And are we feeling the negative impacts of sudden stress? But most importantly, remember that there isn't just one type of work stress, there are 5. And that brings us to our 5th and final key insight from Cheers to Monday. And that is, there is a simple way to break free. The unstressing method has 3 simple steps to help you have less stress and more joy at work. In our national workforce study, 96% of working Americans said that using these 3 steps would help them manage their work stress more effectively. So here they are. Step 1, you've got to see your stress differently. Write down all of your work-related stressors. And it works best if you can use sticky notes. Write 1 stressor per sticky note. Then you've got to ask yourself 2 questions for each stressor. Is this important to me right now? And is this within my control? And how you answer those questions is where you place your sticky note on the unstressing method matrix. There are 4 simple quadrants, and however you answer those questions of, is this important to me? Is this within my control? That's where it lands on the matrix. Then in step 2, we sort stress into actionable categories. We look at each one of your stressors and we say, which of these 5 types of work stress is it? You can have a stressor that's more than one type. You can have a stressor that's all 5 types. The key is to go through each one of them and figure out, what type of work stress am I experiencing? And that takes us to the 3rd step, which is to solve stress without spinning. Wherever your stressor landed on the matrix, there is a next guiding step for you to take. You don't have to overthink it. You don't have to spin. You don't have to have analysis paralysis. It provides you with a next guiding step of what you can do right now. In the study, we found that 79% of working Americans say feeling joy is essential to doing their best work. And that number jumped to 89% for executives. Yet 57% say that they are feeling far less joy at work than they want. Reducing stress isn't just a wellness strategy, it's a joy strategy. When we have less stress, we create space for more joy. Joy at work is made up of 3 things. It's made up of meaning and purpose in what you do. It's made up of mattering in our relationships. And it's made up of momentum, when we see movement in our progress. So when we have those 3 things, meaning, mattering, and momentum, we've created the conditions for joy. And the time for joy is now. Not toxic positivity, because we know that that actually increases stress. But the time for real joy is now.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you for listening. I hope that you loved this episode. I hope you enjoyed hearing what I shared with the Next Big Idea Club. Please hit follow, share this episode with a friend, or even leave a quick review. It really helps more people find their way here to less stress and more joy. My book, Cheers to Monday, is now officially out. It was a national bestseller. Thank you to everyone who's been reading it and promoting it and sharing it with their friends and family. It's the greatest thing you can do for a new author. If anything today sparked a question, you know where to reach me. Send me an email at amy@amyleneker.com. I read every message and I would love to hear from you. See you next week. Less stress, more joy, 0 toxic positivity. That's the Joyful Rebellion.